me a story. Something we've all said or heard in our lives. Stories bring us together around the campfire. Storytelling has earned its place as the most important tradition humans possess. The most important reason for this being that every story contains a lesson. Lessons to love, to forgive, to be just, and to strive for better than we have. They empower us, they lead us, they comfort us. Born in Alberta, raised in the backcountry, fishing, hunting, nature, the wild, all run thick in my blood. Growing up a Canadian boy, I had a similar dream to most other boys my age here, to make the NHL. When that dream was yanked from beneath my feet, how could I carry on? My story is full of hope, inspiration, joy, heartbreak, heartache, and resiliency. My name is Dana Lattery. I'm a fly fishing guide in southern Alberta, an ex-professional hockey player, and a storyteller at heart. Having spent the past decade guiding thousands of fly fishermen from all over the world, I've heard so many stories that paralleled mine. Stories of pain, brokenness, tragedy, from all different walks of life. The more time I spend with them, the more I realized that we all shared one common thread. Fly fishing saved our lives. Grab your favorite drink and join me on this journey as our story begins. Welcome back to another episode of Fly Fishing Saves Lives, and I'm your host, Dana Lattery. And today I'm joined virtually, I guess you could say, by a fellow neighbor American, Mr. Mike Hawkins. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, why don't you kind of just tell everybody just a little bit about Mike and where you live, and kind of get them like a little bit of a geotag so that we can use that later as we reference stories.
That's cool. I'm in Longview, Texas, which is East Texas. Grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, about 45 minutes from here. Left Shreveport, went to the University of Arkansas to study architecture. Graduated in 76, moved back down to Texas, and I've been here ever since.
So what brought you across the way, I guess you'd be moving westward slowly to Texas?
Yeah, it's only, like I said, it's only about 45 minutes, but I interviewed for several architectural firms in Shreveport and in Longview, and got an offer over here in Longview, and made the move, and it's been really good.
So what does family look like for you right now?
I have a wife of almost 30 years. Wow. And a daughter that is 29, and a grandson who is the absolute light of my life that's 3.5 years old. My daughter is going to nursing school, and we're taking care of Tyler, as his name is Tyler, and during the day for her while she goes to school. And it's an absolute blessing that we have him in our lives.
It's they always tell people that have an old dog to get a puppy, and it kind of rejuvenates the household. Is that kind of true in your house right now?
It is absolutely true. Yeah. We're kind of old to be doing parenting, but we love every minute. When we don't have him for a couple of days, it's like we relax, and then all of a sudden we realize that we haven't seen him in a couple of days, and we have to go get him.
Yeah. Yeah, you're missing that craziness that they bring. So
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and I see that because being Facebook friends, I get to watch some videos that you put up or thing while you're on your Vice and stuff. So that's pretty cool and good on you guys for that.
He is, he asked me now, he calls me Champ, and he asked me now, like, Champ, can we go tie a fly? And it's just lights up my world when he says that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So let's kind of rewind. I know what I guess you kind of briefed me a little bit, and like I tell everybody else is I don't do a lot of legwork to find out the whole entire story when I bring people on the podcast, because I personally like to learn the story as all of the people listening get to learn the story. So let's kind of go back. So you graduated college in 76, I believe you said?
Yes.
So outdoors, fly fishing, hunting, fishing, like where did that kind of enter your life? Was that a part of growing up? And, just kind of fill us in on that.
It was absolutely the biggest part of my life. I had childhood memories of being in the outdoors and the woods, rivers and lakes. My dad started me out very young. We would go squirrel hunting, and he would teach me how to pick out a path of 10 steps or so without making any noise, and then how to set the hook on a bass. Almost every activity my dad and I were involved in the outdoors. If we weren't on the lakes, river, or woods, we were at his reloading bench, pouring lead for duck decoys or fletching arrows for archery. It was an absolute great experience. I never felt like I was a tag along with my dad ever. We had the same equipment, same shotgun, same Fred Bear bow. It was almost like my dad, if he couldn't afford two of whatever he was getting, he didn't buy them, because we always had the same equipment. There was a time I remember that I had a pair of kangaroo leather boots from Sears and Roebuck's that they weren't cheap at the time, and I probably outgrew them in 2 seasons, but we both had the same equipment. It was great outdoors experience my entire childhood.
Yeah, that's pretty cool and special, because I know like you had said it in the little bit of text that you had sent me earlier, and you just repeated that, is like I never saw myself as a tag along with my dad. And I think as parents, and now as for yourself being a grandparent, I think sometimes taking kids, well, it's not sometimes, always taking kids is a lot of work and it's a lot of energy. But it's pretty cool to know that when your dad took you, he took you as a friend and not as a kid. And it was, if he couldn't buy 2 of them, he wasn't buying one of them. Tell me kind of like one of your like first memories of either hunting or fishing with your dad.
So many. I think probably we started out squirrel hunting in the woods, and it was just I don't know. There's so many that we bonded, and after we harvested the squirrels, we would come back and he would teach me to clean them. And same thing about fish. We would go fishing. A lot of times we would brim fish at Caddo Cross Lake in Shreveport. We would brim fish for flies early on, and it's just, my whole childhood memories are things we did outdoors. I know he could have caught a lot more fish or killed a lot more deers if I wasn't hanging there with him, but he always took me with him. I can count on one hand the amount of times that he went without me somewhere.
It's pretty cool when you say that, because I guess at one point in the outdoor life, as hunting or fishing, the light bulb goes off and we start to realize, and I don't know if everybody has this aha moment, but it's definitely something that I had as a child growing up. Is, well, while we were never successful, my dad always, drug us back into the mountains on horseback, and we went for bighorn sheep. And so the odds of getting one weren't very good. And so bringing me into the hunting world, I kind of felt like, wow, this isn't very hunting like. We're never getting anything, Dad. Maybe we should have started off squirrel hunting or something. But the thing there is, I had this moment early where I realized that it wasn't about the harvest, and it wasn't about the as many fish caught as you could brag about. And a cool thing that you said, and I think something probably your dad had a revelation about, is that you alluded to, he could have caught more fish or shot more deer had he not brought you. But I don't think that's what it was about for him. I think it was about making the memories with you, so that X amount of years later, this is what you have, is all these memories. You're not talking about these, 200 class whitetails that your dad shot. It's just about, we ran around in our kangaroo boots and we had our Fredbear bows and we went out. Because isn't that truly what it's about? And it's pretty cool that your dad saw that and he felt it was more powerful to bring you than to catch 100 fish.
That is exactly what it's about. And, I'm thinking the same thing now. I think I sent you a photo of my daughter with a big bass that she caught. And to see that, I would have given 1,000 times more for her to catch that fish than me. And that's exactly what you feel like. Hopefully Tyler growing up, I'll put him on some fish, and whether I catch anything or not, it's absolutely about passing this tradition on to the fourth generation now at this point with my grandson. Yeah. And it really, I've gone through the cycle, I guess, of catching a lot of fish, catching the big fish, and catching just catching a fish, and then to being outside, and then to bringing my daughter and my grandson along with me. So it's kind of falls into that pattern. Definitely would rather see them catch the big fish than me.
Yeah. And that's when you get to that stage, it's like I've arrived at the most, at the highest part of the outdoor world, is when I'm happy to see other people catch fish or harvest a deer or something like that. And exactly. I don't know if everybody gets there, but I mean, guiding, that's kind of what we got to do anyways. But it's like, I don't think people outside of that really always get there.
I know my dad got there not only for me, but for, we were fishing one time at Little Missouri River in Arkansas, and we were into a pot of fish, of trout, and he absolutely insisted. He gave up his spot for a teenager to come in and catch some fish. So he was definitely in that zone, and hopefully I can repeat that at some point.
Yeah. So did you guys grow up fly fishing or more gear fishing? And if you didn't grow up fly fishing, when did that kind of walk into your guys' lives?
We did more conventional fishing when I was growing up. There was a period of time that we did do some fly fishing. My dad was he grew up in the Depression, and if he always asked him how the Depression affected him. He said that they were so poor they didn't know when it came and they didn't know when it left. But he he always thought if he could see someone else doing something, he could do it. And we did a little fly fishing when I was in high school, and I went off to college and got away from it a little bit. But he took a trip after my mother passed away. He took a trip with his sister and to Yellowstone, and he saw these guys out in the Yellowstone River fly fishing, and he decided that's what he was going to do. And in 1992, 91, I guess, I asked him to make me a fly rod for Christmas, and it was right after my mother had passed away, and I was kind of looking for a way for us to bond, and he made me a fly rod and took me out in the backyard and kind of taught me how to cast a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the beginning of it. It went from February 1992 to almost an obsession until he actually passed away.
Yeah, I know. It's powerful because, I mean, I just look at what your dad gave you, and it was probably the most coveted thing that you can give someone, and it is their time. And it's pretty cool to see you, passing that along to your grandson and your daughter, and just enjoying, knowing that the connection, after your mother passed, and your dad saying, making you a fly rod for Christmas. And then that's when, the journey kind of went on steroids for you guys. And I think you said somewhere in your notes that you guys never once, you never did a fly fishing trip without each other. Is that was correct?
Probably maybe 5 times since 1992. We went on trips without each other, just because I was invited by another group or that sort of thing. I never left Longview without going to Shreveport to pick him up for a trip. And in the later years, he couldn't fish. He was 95 when he passed away, but up until 93 or 94 years old, he would sit in the truck and watch me fish. And I would be sitting here on a Thursday or Friday night and ask him if he wanted to go fishing, and he said, "Yeah, I want to go fishing." And his later years, like I said, he didn't fish, but he just wanted to be with me and wanted to watch me fish. It was never a burden. I always loved having him with me, and I would always park where he could watch me, fish, and he loved it.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy because you're thinking how we started this story, and it said, you mentioned you were never a tag along for your dad, and he didn't look at you as a burden, and then the life comes full circle. And the last 5 years, it was, you just said he was never a burden to me, and it's very... Yeah,
I never thought about that until you just said it, actually. But we just always were together. If we went outside, we were together.
Yeah. What do you think it is about the outdoors that just... there's a bond there from being outside. Nobody ever says me and my dad went to the mall every day. We never went to the mall without each other. Right? Like, what do you, Mike, what do you think it is that about the outdoors that creates that bond?
I don't know exactly how to describe it. I know that after my mother passed away, his first trip was to Yellowstone, which is kind of a grieving process, I guess, that he went through to connect back with the outdoors. And there's just something, whether, it's like the old line in river runs through it, Haunted by Waters. And it's something about being outdoors and the serenity, the quietness, the nature, the animals. I don't know how to describe it, but there's something definitely about being away from the city and the noises and just the peacefulness of being outdoors. And I think that definitely was part of his grieving process when he lost my mother. They were childhood friends forever. Mm-hmm. The one story that I remember my mother telling me is that back in middle school, there was somebody sitting next to her on the school bus, and my dad got on the bus and he went back and pushed the kid off the bus, and so he could sit next to her. And they were married 47 years and always involved in the outdoors. All of us were. It's just I don't know how to describe it.
Your mom was pretty involved in the outdoors too?
She definitely was. My first gun that I inherited basically from her was a 410 double barrel shotgun that she used to go in the woods with my dad, squirrel hunting and rabbit hunting. So, but she was always with us fishing. And so it was really a family thing,
How old were you when your mother passed away?
She passed away in 1992. So I was about 50-something years old.
Oh, okay. So your mom passes away, and then all of a sudden this fly fishing journey begins for both of you guys.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I didn't know this at the time, but I was looking for something to bond with my dad a little closer to. Mm-hmm. And he was in the middle he had just gotten back from Yellowstone and was fishing. I thought, well, I'm going to do this. And I wasn't even sure at the time that it was something that I would be that involved with. It was more of being with him. Mm-hmm. and connecting with him. But as it turned out, it's a total obsession now. I mean, I know your title is Fly Fishing Saved My Life, but I think it's more like it saved both of our lives.
Yeah.
Mine and my dad's,
Well, it's evident just in your timeline of, like there's, and like you said, you didn't even know if it was going to be something that you would, like, oh, okay, let's go fly fishing. It's just more like, hey, if that's what you're going to do, that's what I want to do. You said you were the only child, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, I mean, now it's you and your dad, and I know you guys spent a lot of time outside, but that's a traumatic event that happened when your mother passed. And it's like fly fishing's like this weird spiritual thing that just always gets us when the time is right, if that makes any sense.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, and the time was right for us in 92. And it just, it blossomed. And, that was, I used to play a little golf, and we used to do a lot of hunting, but around when we started fly fishing, that was all we did. Yeah. I mean, that was pretty much an obsession. He taught me how to tie flies, and that's become an obsession. So it really did direct both of our lives for a long time.
Yeah, well, and it's still directed your life, probably. No, I don't know anyone that said I used to be addicted to fly fishing. I don't think that exists.
Yeah. Well, and my daughter, when she was turning 6, and he asked her what kind of if she came to him and said, I want a fly rod, and he said, well, what color thread do you want? And she said, purple. And it was this exact same thing, he built her a sage rod with purple thread. And the first time we took her to Little Missouri trout fishing, she caught her limit. And I think I sent you a picture of that too. She didn't really understand the concept of catch and release at the time.
Yeah.
And she kept her limit, but we did bring them home and cook them for her. But he made her, and I've still got the rod that she fished with a sage rod with purple thread.
Yeah.
And it just kind of continues. And I hope I live long enough to get my grandson involved in it.
Yeah. So what would you say was your dad's favorite style of fly fishing, as far as like dry flies or streamers, or like what was his favorite species, way to catch fish on a fly rod?
We did primarily more streamer fishing, but there was one time that I remember specifically. We were in a canoe on the Little Missouri River, and we ran into a mayfly hatch, and we both tied on some dry flies, and it was like phenomenal. We had a blast. We were catching trout one after the other on a hatch, and so I don't know. I think we probably did more streamer fishing, but the time we got into some dry fly hatches, we had a blast.
Yeah. And what like, were you guys bass, or what was mostly the species you targeted?
Mostly trout in Arkansas and Oklahoma. But we did, in his later years, he moved to a condominium type place that had two little ponds on it that we now live in. And bass and brim, we love to catch brim. If you catch a nice 2-pound brim on a 3 or 4 weight rod, and it's a blast.
Yeah. And they take pretty much any flies, or what are they like?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can fish for, depending on the time of the year, it's getting to time of year that the brim will take dry flies or poppers on top water, and also bass.
Now, for yourself, when you go out, where do you love to go? Where's your favorite place to go?
There's a river, Lower Mountain Fork in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, that has become a phenomenal trout fishery.
Mm-hmm.
Large rainbows, the browns are holding over. It's a tailwater fishery, but they have worked it where the brown trout and rainbows are holding over year round now. So that's probably my favorite place to go. It has a lot of Colorado look to it, huge bluffs and clear, pretty water.
What size of rod do you primarily use out there?
My favorite rod is a 4-weight Orvis rod. That's probably, when I'm fishing for trout or brim, that's probably my favorite rod. 6-weight when I'm fishing for bass. But I love the Helios rod, and I love TFO rods too. I've got several TFOs that I use.
Yeah. What is one thing that you would say that your dad taught you the most about the outdoors?
Oh man. Just being outdoors. I had someone ask me recently, down at the little pond that I fish in here, did I catch anything? And I said, no, but it's really about just being outdoors. It's not about, like you said earlier, about the harvest or the fish you catch, but just being in the quiet stillness of being outside. That was probably more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. And I don't even think, I think we've been talking for about half an hour. I don't even think you've said your dad's name, so I think we should.
His name was Robert Hawkins.
Okay.
And just I guess a little bit of history about him, because I wanted this to be more about him. He was one of 9 brothers. They had one sister. All of the brothers served in one branch of the military, from World War II to Korea to Vietnam. He volunteered after Pearl Harbor. He was born in 1924. He was just, the thing about my dad, they were, like I said before, they were in rural Mississippi, and if they didn't grow anything or kill anything, they didn't eat. So that's kind of the way he was raised, and it was, thank God he passed that on to me.
Yeah. And so why do you like, I see it often as like people that come from big families tend to have like one child. Like did he ever talk about, like having so many siblings and stuff, or like how I just kind of always fascinated because I do see it quite often. If they're just kind of seeking something a bit simpler, or like, why do you think that was the choice he made?
I'm not sure about that. I was definitely the spoiled kid and the spoiled grandkid. Most of my uncles that I can think of probably had 2 kids, and I don't know if it had maybe to do with the Depression and having to take care of that many family members, or he joked around and say that they only had me because they messed me up so bad they weren't going to have another one. But almost all of my uncles that came from a 10 family with the sister only had 1 or 2 kids. So I don't know. I'm not sure about the answer to that. I'm thinking it may have had to do with the Depression that they lived through and having to take care of that many kids. I don't know.
Did your dad, like, were his parents big in the outdoors, or was that just, other than just like what they killed they could eat? Is that kind of how they got into it, or no?
My grandfather was very big in the outdoors. A matter of fact, the first 20 gauge shotgun was a gift from my grandfather to me, and they were very much involved in the outdoors, either hunting or fishing, or producing their own food, but they were all very involved in the outdoors.
Yeah. Well, it's super cool when that tradition gets passed down, and I see that, with your daughter and your grandson now, that's something that kind of lights your fire again to get going. And I get to see the videos like I talked about earlier. And so, if people want to know, like, I really don't know how we met. I think it might have been through Thursday Night Live or Facebook, or the wonderful world of social media is pretty cool that way too.
Yeah, it was definitely your Thursday Night Live. I don't know how I found it. I don't know if it was through Norvice or what, but I latched onto it, and it's been through our pandemic here. It's been nice having you guys on Thursday night just to liven things up a little bit.
Yeah, gives us all something to do. And I mean, it's like last summer when we went kind of, full into it, and it's kind of when we got to meet a lot of new people, because everyone's like, well, I'm sitting at home and I got nothing to do. And the irony of it is we just spent half an hour talking about the magic of the outdoors and getting outside, but yet we've connected through fishing through a the most technologically advanced thing that I know of, and it's
in a studio. Yeah,
yeah, right. Like, there's no.
I especially like last week when you had Tim stab himself with a hook so you could demonstrate how to remove the hook, so.
Well, we got to show people how to get a hook out. You never, Tim, it's not going to my arm. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, yes, it is. So yeah, we have fun with that. And I think to kind of, bring this full circle and then the understanding of, there is a magic to being outside. There's a magic to standing in a river, to just standing in the trees, listening to the wind cut through the leaves. But I think the bigger magic is when we find like-minded people who just simply know how to slow down and just connect on that level where we've been outside, we've been in the woods, we've been to the mountains. And so, like connecting through a technology platform like Thursday Night Live, it's not the busyness of the technology, but we all are like-minded and we get it. We understand that that's what keeps our ticker going, is the hope of, hey, guess what? Pretty soon I'm going to go fishing, and maybe in 2 days or 3 days. And I think that's, a lot of people mention that on the show, is like that excitement to go outside. So yeah, it's being outside, it's standing in a river. But if that's not something you're able to do because of the winter or because of this season, connecting with like-minded people to keep those endorphins going is a very powerful thing. And I know one of the Facebook groups that you run, the Norvise Tires, I believe that's the name of it. Is that correct?
It is. It is.
And so I know you're in there, and I know being like a moderator of those groups is a lot of work. You're trying to make sure it's a fun place to be. And I just have to say that all these Facebook groups that are out there, that's probably one of the most, fun, best, like-minded people in that group. And I think that says a lot to you, who's helping keep that culture going. So I appreciate that. And I just kind of wanted to say thanks for making that group awesome to be a part of.
Well, I appreciate that. And, over the almost 2 years now that we've had the group going, we really haven't had any controversy. It's kind of my theme is no smart aleck or sarcastic remarks. Every contribution you can make is welcome, but we do have a good group, and it's a great group of guys and girls, and we really have had a fun time with that group. There's a lot of camaraderie there, and people have connected through that group, and it's just it's turned out to be an amazing group of people.
Yeah, and that stuff doesn't happen by accident, and getting to hear your backstory and just the understanding of you as a child, and then you later on in life taking care of your dad, and it's like it all comes full circle, and it doesn't happen by accident. And I appreciate you coming on here and letting us learn more about your dad. I think more people need to kind of take that, first few years of your life and the last few years of your dad's life and understand that time, and I've said this before earlier, is our most valuable asset, and we have to choose to spend it wisely because our loved ones aren't going to be here forever, and we can't be out there trying to chase, like, always getting numbers, always, it's a hit or miss based on the amount of fish we catch or the size of deer we get. It's just quite simply getting to spend time together and not having a burden, you to your dad and your dad to you. And I think that's very inspiring.
Well, the rod that my dad made me was a 8'6" G Loomis 4-weight, and I lost him on December 1st, 2019, about 5 p.m. And it really was like losing my best friend, my best fishing partner. And I don't know, on the bad days, when I think about him being gone, I get a little depressed, but on the bad days when I remember he's gone and remember the good times, I string up that 30-year-old Loomis rod and hand down to the neighborhood pond for bluegills. And on the walk back home, I thank God and I thank my dad. Sorry, I wasn't going to do that.
It's okay.
But I thank him for everything that he gave to me and taught me.
Yeah. He gave you his time, and there's no price tag on that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dana. I wasn't going to go there, but it happens.
It's all good. It's all good, Mike. Don't worry about it. It's a beautiful story that I'm sure a lot of people listening will resonate with, and I know even just talking to people on Thursday Night Live, and it's a lot of people share the story of time with their dad, and sometimes we take it for granted, and it doesn't last forever.
It doesn't. And I saw a picture of Tim with his daughter, and I made the comment, don't take it for granted, because the next thing you know, she'll be 30 years old, and you can't get those memories back.
No.
They just you can't do it again. And like you said, time is more than money, more than anything. Just spend some time with your kids.
Yeah, take them outside and build them a fly rod and reconnect with nature, and dip your toes in a river, and it's magic. Well, Mike, I super appreciate you sharing, and I know we've been chatting back and forth for a little while here, and I know it's not easy to just come on and open up to a stranger and to a platform where lots of people get to hear the story, but I think you told the story well, and I think people get to know your dad just a little bit better, and kind of what creates your fabric, and it's super good. It's super awesome, and I'm glad to call you a friend, and I appreciate you being here.
I don't feel like I'm talking to a stranger, just because of the Thursday night events and back and forth on some of those. I definitely consider you a friend, and one of my bucket list is to make it up to the Bow River at some point. So it's there, and I hope I can make it happen sometime.
Well, as soon as this border opens, we would love to have you up here and bring the grandson, and it'd be an honor to host you guys.
I appreciate that.
All right. So if you guys are listening for the first time, this podcast is just about telling stories. And if you have a story and you can say fly fishing saved my life, whether it's got you out of addiction, whether it's just a story about you and your kids or you and your father, it doesn't matter how big or how small your story is. It's your story, and there's power in telling your story. And so if you want to share your story, feel free to reach out to me. You can just send me a message, look me up on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and I would love to help tell your story. Until next time, I'm your host, Dana Lattery with Fly Fishing Saves Lives, and I love you guys.